Thank you for purchasing your solar shade. This video will help guide you through the installation process. To begin, you will need to determine your type of installation. If you are installing your shade on a wall or beam as shown here, you are performing a wall installation. If you are installing your shade underneath a window frame or overhang as shown here, you are performing a ceiling installation. Consider the following tips before you install your shade. Your shade comes with a total of 3 valance brackets. You must install at least 2 of them. The 2 required brackets should be installed near the ends of the shade, allowing 1 inch from each end. If you choose to install the 3rd bracket, install it near the center of your shade. When installing your valance brackets, you must allow at least 1 inch clearance above the bracket for a wall installation, or 1 inch behind the bracket for a ceiling installation to allow the shade to click into place. It is important to install your brackets into wood studs. If wood studs are not available, anchors will be needed. Contact your local hardware store for information on wall anchors. It is very important that your valance brackets are installed level with each other. If your brackets are crooked, or if they are not level with each other, your shade will not install correctly. Your shade comes with an installation template to align your pilot holes. Follow these steps to use it. Start by temporarily attaching the template to the mounting surface. Make sure it is level and flat. Mark and drill your pilot holes. Remove the template before installing your valance brackets. Install your valance brackets using 2 screws per bracket. For ceiling installations, the tabs should point out towards you. For wall installations, the tabs should point down. Now it is time to install your shade. For wall installations, hook the top of the valance on the top of the valance brackets, then rotate the shade down and click it into place. For ceiling installations, hook the back of the shade on the back of the valance brackets, then rotate the front of the shade down and click it into place. You may need to use your thumb or an object such as a screwdriver to click your shade into place. Your shade installation is now complete. Next, you will need to install the battery for your remote control. Remove the battery cover and install the included lithium battery as shown here. Once your battery is installed, your remote is live, so all shade buttons are now active. Your shade comes with a remote control holder that allows you to mount your remote to a wall or beam. Installing this holder is optional. To install the remote control holder bracket, place it against the installation surface with the narrow side against the wall or beam. Install it using the 2 provided screws. Next, slide the remote holder over the bracket. Your shade comes charged and ready for use. A fully charged shade should last for about 4 to 6 months depending on frequency of use. To recharge your shade, plug in your included AC adapter into the shade as shown here. It takes about 6 hours to fully charge your shade. To begin, let's learn the remote control. If you have installed the battery to your remote, do not press any buttons at this time. Pushing buttons will operate your shade. The indicator lights at the top of the remote show you what channel you are operating. The remote can operate up to 5 shades, 1 shade per channel. The top indicator light is channel 1. The next one down is channel 2, followed by channel 3, 4, and 5. Your shade comes pre-programmed to operate on channel 1. To change the channel you are operating, press the channel increase button or the channel decrease button. When all 5 channel buttons are lit, your remote will operate all 5 channels at once. To roll up your shade, press the up button shown here. To lower your shade, press the down button shown here. To stop the shade from rolling up or down, press the Stop button shown here. Your shade is automatically programmed with upper and lower limits. That is, the height at which your shade will automatically stop rolling up or down. Your factory default upper limit is approximately 2 inches below the valance, and the default lower limit is approximately 72 inches from the valance. If you would like to change your upper and lower limits, follow these steps to change your limits. If you are happy with your upper and lower limits, you may skip this process. Your motor will make beeping sounds during many programming steps. These beeps let you know that signals are being received. Therefore, we recommend keeping background noise to a minimum and trying to stand as close to the shade as possible. Make sure your remote is set to channel 1. Using a paperclip or similar device, push the P2 button on the back of the remote. Wait for the beep and fabric jog. Press the up button, listen for the beep, then press P2 again. The motor should beep 3 times and the fabric should jog. Note, you will need to press all 3 buttons on the remote within 10 seconds of each other. You are now in limit setting mode. You are now ready to set your top and bottom limits. You must set your top limit before your bottom limit. Using the remote up and down buttons, get the shade to your ideal upper limit location. We recommend leaving at least 1 inch of the fabric unrolled. Once you have reached your ideal location, press and hold the stop button until the fabric jogs. Now, using the up and down buttons, get your shade to your ideal lower limit location. Press and hold the stop button until the fabric jogs. Your shade will exit limit setting mode automatically when you finish setting your lower limit. Test your shade to make sure it stops in the locations you set. If you purchased multiple shades and would like to program one of your remotes to operate multiple shades, keep watching to learn how. If this does not apply to you, your installation and programming is now complete. Before programming multiple shades to work on a single remote, make sure you set the top and bottom limits for each shade using its original remote. To begin this process, you will need to determine which shade and remote you would like to make your primary shade and remote. That is, which remote you will add other shades to on alternate channels such as 2, 3, 4, or 5. Place your primary remote on channel 2. Now set the secondary remote on channel 1. Be careful to remember which remote goes with each shade. This process will copy the channel 1 frequency from your secondary remote to channel 2 on your primary remote. On the secondary remote, press the P2 button once. Listen for the beep. Then press it again. Listen for the beep. Then on the primary remote, press the P2 button once. There will be 5 beeps confirming that the frequency has been copied onto your primary remote. Make sure to push all 3 buttons within 10 seconds of each other. You should now be able to operate your primary shade on channel 1 and your secondary shade on channel 2 of your primary remote. You can also operate both shades simultaneously if you highlight all 5 channels on your primary remote. You can add additional shades to the remote by selecting other unused channels on your primary remote and repeating this process. You have completed installation and programming. If something went wrong during your programming process, keep watching for additional help. If you want to erase all top and bottom limits, follow these steps. Begin by making sure your remote is set to the correct channel for that shade. Push the P2 button on the back of the remote. You should hear the motor beep and see the fabric jog. Then push the down button, wait for the beep, then push the P2 button again. The motor will beep and the fabric will jog. Remember, all 3 buttons must be pushed within 10 seconds of each other. You can now enter limit setting mode as shown earlier in this instructional video. If your remote no longer operates your shade correctly, you can reset your shade and remote. This process will also erase any top and bottom limits you may have set. This is a two-step process. To erase the remote frequency, begin by pressing the P2 button. You should hear the motor beep and the fabric jog. Then press the stop button. The motor should beep. Then press the P2 button again. The motor should beep and the fabric should jog. Before you begin, make sure your remote is set to the channel you want your shade to operate on, usually channel 1. You will now need to find the reset button located next to the antenna. There are 2 holes. Use the one directly next to the antenna. You will need a narrow object, such as a paper clip, to push this button. Once you have located this button, press it for about 1 second. Once you release the button, the motor will beep and the fabric will jog. Then press the P2 button twice, for about 1 second each time. The motor will beep after each button press. Then press the down button. For additional help, please see the troubleshooting section shown here of your instruction manual located on page 7.